You're listening to a new episode of The Brave Technologist. This one features a guest we recorded live at the Rare Evo conference in Vegas earlier this month. We sat down with 9 speakers over 2 days, and today you'll meet Marc, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer for the Algorand Foundation. If you're not familiar, the Algorand Foundation goal is to foster partnerships that help contribute to the advancement of the overall blockchain industry and to drive adoption of the Algorand blockchain. Since stepping into the role in early 2024, Marc has been leading the charge to elevate Algorand's global brand and strategy. In this episode, we discussed what makes Algorand different from other layer 1s, agentic commerce and how it could reshape how we interact online, strategies for achieving mainstream adoption of crypto, and how Algorand is preparing for the post-quantum world. And now for this week's episode of The Brave Technologist.
Marc, welcome to Brave Technologist. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous.
Yeah,
thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining. Since you've joined Algrand this year, what's been your main focus as a Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer?
Yeah, I think two elements here. One is all about raising awareness for Algorand, and then the second thing is about more from a technology perspective to kind of push the decentralization agenda. And so on the raising awareness side, like Algorand is one of the OG chains in industry and is known for its like groundbreaking technology, but it's not necessarily having the awareness that some of the other more recent chains have. And so we want to fix that, and we want to make sure and remind people why Algorand is here and what makes Algorand unique. So that's one part. And the second part is like we are, as an OG chain, we still value very much kind of the original kind of OG values of decentralization. And so over the course of the last year, as a foundation, we have pushed very hard on this decentralization agenda. We introduced staking rewards to get the number of stakers up and the portion of stake that is owned by the foundation down. And so to give you an idea, since the beginning of this year, actually the foundation controlled about 70% of the overall stake in the network. Over the course of the last 5 months, that stake has dropped to about 20%.
Wow.
So we have massively decentralized over the course of like 5 months or so. And the second part of that is we just launched our peer-to-peer gossip network, which gets rid of like the only kind of centralizing element that still remained in our network, which was the relay nodes. And so now with this peer-to-peer gossip network, nodes can now talk directly to each other without having to talk through a relay node. And so that completely decentralizes the network as well. And so I would say with the increase in stake, with the reduction in stake owned by the foundation, with this P2P infrastructure, and with the number of node runners that we currently have, we have over 2,000 live nodes. We are probably one of the most decentralized networks in the industry right now.
What was the biggest driver in reducing that foundation-owned stake? Like, was it programs or certain features? Or
Well, so it's basically the incentive, right? Like originally when Algorand was founded, we had this very kind of positive idea of like, hey, staking on Algorand is so easy. You can take any computer, you can buy like a mini PC on Amazon for $200 and you can run a node with it. So it's so easy to do. We don't have to pay people. People should just do it. The goodness of their heart. Turns out people like incentive.
Right.
And so it turns out that we ended up without doing this incentive system. Turns out that Algorand, the foundation, had to basically control a large majority of the stake to kind of guarantee the security of the network. And so we put this incentive mechanism in place, and so people reacted. Amazing, right? People react to incentives. And so that's why it's like over the course of like, as I said, 5-6 months, we more than increased the number of nodes by 50-60%.
Wow.
And so that allowed us to then gradually reduce our stake. And so the fact that our stake went down is the combination of one, other stakers coming in and taking over the security network, and then us proactively and in a measured way reducing our stake as fast as we possibly can without kind of like compromising, of course, the security network. So that's
huge. I mean, that's huge progress in
Yes.
a short amount of time too. I mean, you mentioned Algrand's kind of an OG chain, and there's a lot of different options in the market right now. What sets Algorand apart from your point of view when people ask you that?
Well, I think there's two things. So we've always talked about some of the core features that set Algorand apart, and we were one of the first ones to kind of solve this trilemma issue of like, hey, you can only have 2 of 3 things. You can be scalable, you can be decentralized, and you can be secure, but you can only do 2 of those 3 things, right? So when the premise of Algorand at the beginning was, no, there is no trilemma. We can do all 3. And that has been the core of what Algorand stood for. And so, we can do 10,000 transactions per second. We are very decentralized, as we just talked about, and very secure at the same time. We have instant finality, which many of the blockchains don't have. And so we've always talked about those core features that set Algorand apart. But really what that means is like we're trying to translate this to, okay, what does this now mean for users?
Right.
And what does it now mean for developers?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think from a user perspective, what this means is that the DeFi experience on Algorand is really unparalleled. People that use our DeFi protocols like Volks Finance for lending and borrowing, or Tinyman, who's our AMM, right? They will notice that transactions don't fail ever. You don't have to wait for transactions to complete, right? All transactions complete within less than 3 seconds. We also have this very powerful routing system. So because the transactions are so low, and because we have something like atomic swaps, it allows us to build these very, very smart routers that will find you the best route or the combination of routes to do swaps without you having to worry about any of this, and without any of these swaps failing halfway through the route, because atomic swaps will guarantee that they all go through, or none of them will go through. And so all of these technology features, right, that are deeply embedded into the protocol, make it such that the user experience of doing DeFi is just tremendous.
That's awesome.
It's just tremendous. And so that, I think, is one thing that sets us apart. From a developer perspective, I would say what sets us apart is really the ease by which and the productivity that developers have when they build on Algorand. And there's two reasons for that. One is we support native TypeScript and we support native Python. So you don't need to learn any particular language to be able to write smart contracts. And the second thing is that a lot of those features for which you need smart contracts on other chains, you don't need smart contracts on Algorand at all, which significantly improves the security of your code and also speeds up the development of your code. To give you one example,
I'd love to get an example of that.
Tokens, right?
Okay.
ERC20 on Ethereum, right? If you tokens on Algorand are supported natively in the protocol, so you don't need a smart contract to issue a token. Also, the tokens come with built-in compliance.
Right.
So, for instance, there's whitelisting, there's blacklisting, there's freezing, there's clawback. So all of the things that you would require in a tokenization context for compliance reasons, these features are all built into the protocol. You don't need to write a single line of code to enable these things. So that's one example.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Multi-sig, right? Like if you're a business and you want to develop something on chain, you need multi-sig, right? Multi-sig on Ethereum requires smart contracts. On Algorand, it's a built-in feature. And so atomic swaps, right? The idea that you can basically trade without counterparty risk, right? Is a core feature that's built into the protocol, doesn't require smart contracts. And I can go on and on. So we've really built the AVM, the Algorand virtual machine, with the perspective of what is needed from a real-world use perspective, and build those features into the protocol so you as a developer don't have to build those.
That's fantastic, because I think people don't really understand or appreciate just how many issues and exploits happen from smart contract bugs and just bad implementations and things like that are discovered, even in like hardened stuff that's been out there for a while. So it's really cool. Algorand released a roadmap in 2024. What are some of the headline innovations you're excited about with that roadmap that our audience should know about?
Yeah, so it's interesting when we started building this roadmap, and we did a lot of analysis and hey, what do other chains do, and what does their roadmap look like? And one of the things I realized is that we talked about maturity, right? And so I think you can tell how mature a blockchain is by looking at the roadmap. Because at the end of the day, what we all want is we want blockchains to be mainstream and used by billions of users. And so to me, if the roadmap is still focused on fixing protocol stuff, such as, I want to scale beyond 12 transactions per second, or I want to get finality down from 12 minutes to 3 seconds, you're not ready to scale, right? You're not ready for real world adoption. When you look at our roadmap, we've covered all of the protocol stuff a long time ago. We don't have to worry about these things anymore. Algorand works. It has never been down in 6 years. It scales. It has all these features. So we don't have to worry about any of this. The protocol is very robust and secure. So where our focus is for the roadmap is how do we get to that billion users? How do we get, as a mature blockchain, how do we basically get to real world use at scale? And that's the core focus. And so there's two elements in our roadmap to deliver on that. One is, let's remove friction and complexity wherever we can find it, for users, for developers, but also for businesses. So that's one big element of the roadmap. And there's a number of products and features that specifically tailor to that, and we can talk more in detail about that.
Sure.
And then the second piece is all about what are the core use cases that will generate trillions of dollars of value, right? And we think there's really 3 use cases that we focus on, and that's on self-sovereign identity,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a massive opportunity. The second one is on tokenizing financial products.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is on agentic commerce. And so we're doubling down on those 3 use cases and building the tools and the enabling infrastructure that allows people to take advantage of those use cases and build new products and features on top of that. So that's kind of the core of what the roadmap is focused on.
Let's drill into agentic commerce, right? Like, you mentioned it's one of the key themes on the roadmap. What does that term mean to you, and how do you see it reshaping, how we interact online?
So agentic commerce to me is a very interesting topic. I mean, we all know that AI is kind of eating the world, and I use LLMs every single day,
Right.
and they provide tremendous value, but they're still at the level of like I ask you something and then you reply.
Mm-hmm.
I ask you something, you take action on my behalf. Is not quite there yet,
Mm-hmm.
but that's where the world is going,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the world is going towards you will basically employ agents and the agents will act on your behalf. And so as a result of that, we think there's going to be millions, there's going to be billions of agents that are acting on behalf of people that also interface with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the question becomes, if an agent interfaces with each other and they exchange value, they also have to be paid.
Right.
And so how does that payment mechanism work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are they going to use credit cards? Are they going to use a bank? If an agent is based in Rome and the other agent is based in New York, are they going to do an international bank transfer to pay each other 50 cents? Probably not, right? So
Let's hope not.
So are they going to wait 3 days for settlement?
Right. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need a mechanism for like real time settlements that operates at extremely low cost. And blockchain is the answer.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Totally.
This,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what we're focused on. And how will this change for users? Well, I can think of like a number of use cases that I think I'm very excited about. For instance, I think everybody will have an agent in their back pocket
Mm-hmm.
that will negotiate access to data on their behalf,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like now you go to any website, you have to like do these opt-ins of like cookie opt-ins.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just absurd,
Right,
Absurd. Like imagine you have an agent that not only does all of this stuff on your behalf,
Mm-hmm.
so you never see these annoying pop-ups anymore, but more importantly, the agent can negotiate with the data, with the website to say, well, I'm okay with giving you the data, but it's going to cost you X.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And that agent could actually negotiate on your behalf.
Yeah.
So that you can decide to instruct the agent to not share data at all,
Mm-hmm.
or share it under certain conditions and require payment. And that payment then automatically happens on the blockchain. So I think that's one particular use case that I think would be super, super compelling.
Do you see Algorand working with existing solutions in the market on these types of things, or are you all developing, like you have developers that you're helping to incentivize to code up some of these solutions, or what's the thought process there?
So we firmly believe in a standard-based approach.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to develop anything that is, how would I say, that is non-standardized,
Mhm.
because I think interoperability is key.
Yeah, yeah.
So we all tend to live in like these kind of islands in crypto, like, we do this our way and then you do this your way and we don't talk to you. And so we don't want that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we are going to follow and use standards wherever we can. We do this for identity as well,
Uh-huh.
but we do this in this particular case as well. So there's some emerging standards, and it's still a fast evolving place, right?
Right.
But there's standards run like MCP,
Uh-huh.
which allows an agent to take action on a third-party service. So we developed, actually, one of our projects on Algorand developed Algorand MCP.
Mhm.
Go Plausible is the name of the company. They did a great job at like abstracting away all of the complexity of a blockchain and making it available to agents. So MCP is one of the protocols, of course, that we will use. Google has its A2A protocol, which is agent-to-agent protocol. Coinbase has X402 for payments. So we're looking at these protocols and figuring out how to integrate them in the best possible way with Algorand. The thing that's unique, I think, in our approach is that we want to combine these standard protocols with a security and identity layer that lives on chain.
Yeah.
Because the question is, okay, these agents will maybe have access to private keys. Like, can you trust the agents?
Right,
Like, who determines what trust looks like?
Right.
So agents need an ID that needs to be linked to a trust model that lives on chain. So that's one thing that we're developing. And then the second one, there needs to be a security model, right? Like, what if an agent goes rogue?
Right.
Will you give an agent access to a wallet that has $1 million in it? Probably not.
Right.
How do you ensure that the agent has autonomy but constrained?
Yeah.
Within,
like delegating and them to perform certain
exactly.
functions,
And
right.
so we're building this agentic security and identity framework that will allow agents to operate securely and on a block.
It makes sense too, because you're talking about these pillars, right? Like this, the sovereign identity, and with a lot of things out there too, just kind of like validating who's posting what or creating content and then transacting with it too. So it makes a lot of sense. I think it's really, really cool. So,
But to your point about like the developer approach, like all of the things that we do is all really focused on developers.
Yeah.
It's like we're not building kind of end-to-end products.
Right.
Like we're building the frameworks and the protocols and the SDKs that allows developers to build payment flows, agentic payment flows on top of that. So our whole premise is that we want to basically give as many opportunities to developers to implement new use cases on Algorand and do this in the easiest possible way.
Yeah.
So that's the entire approach for the entire roadmap.
It's fantastic. I mean, let's talk about mainstream adoption too. What needs to happen to Web3 to like truly become user first and kind of invisible and get to that billion users that you're talking about?
So I think there's three things, I think. One is, of course, we have to remove friction.
Right.
Like one of the elements in our roadmap is a new type of wallet called Roca.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really rethinking what a wallet is from the ground up. Like in crypto, I think we are in a pre-iPhone era.
Right.
If you want. Like you may not remember, I'm like old.
I remember.
I'm old. I remember the Nokia days where you had a Nokia smartphone.
Yeah.
And when you want to go online, you had to basically select your WAP gateway.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then you had to click connect, and then it was trying to connect to a web gateway, and then only after like 30 seconds you got connected to the web.
Right.
I mean, you cannot imagine this anymore.
No, yeah.
This is where we are in crypto.
It is. That's being kind, I think, in a lot of respects. You know?
Right.
Like,
So that's where we're in crypto. So I think we have to fundamentally rethink how users access crypto. And so like get rid of seed phrases, right? Get rid of any type of complexity and, fees. Like how is it that every single time I do something on a blockchain, I have to pay?
Right.
Like what kind of business model is this? Like when you're in Web 2, do you pay the provider of the Web 2 app for Oracle access?
Right. No.
Like why do you just have to pay? So we need fee abstraction. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a number of things that need to happen in the way we onboard users that just completely, abstracts away all the complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're committed to doing. But again, we're not doing this. We're not going to build an end user wallet. We're going to create a white labeled wallet that anybody can take. They can take the features, they can take pieces of the features, there's completely open source, they can do whatever they want with it to allow them to basically create their own kind of branded version of it that really onboards those users. So that's one thing. The second thing I think what needs to happen is regulation has to improve. And I think in the US specifically, I think we're making a lot of progress on that. So I think that's an issue that will get resolved, I think, very quickly. There's a lot of progress happening there. And then I think the third element is reputation. I think regular people still believe crypto is just only gambling.
Yeah, or scammy.
And scammy and whatever it is. And so I think we need, as an industry, we need to shine light on positive use cases of what crypto enables you to do that is not gambling and that is not scamming people. And so I think there's a reputational problem that still needs
how do you guys balance that? Because so much of like marketing and adoption with crypto natives is around a lot of these tribal cultural things, but you guys are doing really interesting stuff that you want people to know about. Is it about talking to that ring beyond that, or are you guys doing stuff to kind of connect with people that might be using other blockchains? Like what's the approach on that?
Yeah, from a user perspective, I think if you think about like from purely talking as a marketing person, how do you onboard new users? Like I honestly think that, let's say, doing TV commercials that basically attracts regular Web 2 users to crypto today feels early. Yeah. If you're a centralized exchange, it's different because you're talking about investment opportunity. Right. And but if you talk about like the native crypto use cases, right, about like ownership and consumer apps that basically convey ownership, I think we are very early still in that, right? And so from our perspective, the way we think about in the very short term about like where do we attract users? It's what we talked about earlier. Like we have the best DeFi experience, but that is a Web3 audience,
right?
And so from a marketing perspective, we're very much focused on kind of Web3 audiences for now. But once we have the Roca wallet and once we have a more Web2 based kind of offering, then we can basically expand from there. And to give you one example, we did a partnership with World Chess. And World Chess are Web2 users. They're chess players. They have over 1 million chess players. And so we work with them to actually launch a loyalty program that's completely on-chain.
Oh, cool.
and they just launched this called the Tower.
Nice.
And so you can actually, as a chess player, you can actually climb the tower the more you play and the more you maintain a streak. That entire system is completely based on Algorand.
Oh, cool.
But it's completely abstract away for the users.
Yeah.
World Chess is offering it as a custodial service. And so we launched a product called Intermezzo that allows World Chess to manage custody of assets without having to do anything, without
cool.
having to do anything. Right, so that's kind of a Web 2.5 solution.
Right. I mean,
and it's one way to onboard, right? And then later in the year, when we launch Rocca, World Chess will launch it in their own kind of branded version. It will be a completely self-custodial wallet, and so chess players will be able to take full control over their loyalty points.
Yeah.
Right, non-custodial, so it will be fully non-custodial wallet. They'll be able to take full control over their loyalty points, and they'll be able to trade them, participate in DeFi, whatever they want to do with them.
Yeah.
And because the wallet is identity-based, they will be able to take that wallet and go from an online chess tournament to an in-person chess tournament, just kind of QR code and prove who they are.
Oh, cool.
And so currently, there's a huge amount of friction that players go through when they move from online to offline to kind of prove who they are, take their reputation with them. So this is going to be an implementation that is actually completely crypto-based, but that has a very, very compelling use case behind it.
I love it. You're meeting people where they are. Like, it's the only way you're going to get to the bigger audiences and bring them something where they don't have to think about it, but you're giving them something that they're, making life a little bit easier,
Right.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Quantum computing shows up in your roadmap.
Yes.
How's Algorand preparing for a post-quantum world?
So we've always been pretty advanced in this area. We have a thing called state proofs. And state proofs use kind of quantum signatures. And what that does, it allows us to secure the ledger, make the ledger quantum secure. So our ledger today is quantum secure. So if there is a quantum computer that launches tomorrow, let's say, right, that quantum computer will not be able to overwrite anything that's already written on the ledger today. So this ledger is completely quantum secure. What's not yet quantum secure is accounts, account signatures, and consensus mechanism. And so we're making the first step is done, ledger is done. So now we're moving into accounts. So next step we want to do is we want to basically quantum secure the accounts. And that's part of the roadmap. And so we're going to move to a quantum secure signature scheme that allows people to create accounts that follow that signature scheme and that become quantum secure as well. So that's the next step, and that's
awesome.
And that's on the roadmap.
No, it's great. It's great. From your perspective, what does a user-first approach to blockchains look like?
So we talked about the Nokia example, right? And and that to me is very much what user first means, right? Like, I think it makes no sense when Apple launched the iPhone, they showed you what user first means.
Right.
It's like they thought from a user perspective first about like how you use a phone and how you use the internet, and they abstracted away all the complexities that were associated with this. And that's what user first is. And I think we have very few products anywhere in crypto that actually have followed that approach.
Yeah.
And so, because I think all of the people, like, it's very complex technology, right?
It's super complex.
And all of the people that actually develop apps need to be very, very technical.
Right.
To develop them, right? And so therefore it's not a surprise that the technology itself is not abstracted away, because for the people that develop the products, it is obvious what these things mean.
Right. It's almost like they're showing them off, right? Like in the product UX, which is great for science projects, but not so great for like adoptable technology.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So when we were doing hackathons, for instance, like we would see these projects come up and they would be very impressive from a technical perspective, and like, wow, did they do this with a smart contract? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's super, super cool. But there were never any UIs, because nobody cared about the UI. And so it's very interesting. We just participated last month in the Bolt hackathon, and Bolt is this AI provider that allows you to kind of build full stack, like vibe coding, right? Allows you to build full stack apps using vibe coding. And so they had an amazing success. They had over 100,000 developers participate in this hackathon, which is like,
that's huge,
mind blowing, right?
Amazing.
So we were their blockchain partner. So we had a specific category for blockchain based apps. And so it's very cool to see like what you get as apps when they're built by people that are not blockchain native.
Right.
So like, oh, this thing looks good. Right. Oh, imagine this. And so what I think needs to happen, and we will do much more of this, is that try to marry these Web 2 developers that are more front-end developers, and marry them up with our core engineers and our smart contract engineers, the people that are very, very sophisticated, know how to build smart contracts. And I think the right combination is to marry them together and have them work together. So all of our future hackathons will try and accomplish that. Is like, can we do team building ahead of the hackathon, where we take some really, really good front-end engineers that have TypeScript experience, but maybe they want to do vibe coding, have a brilliant idea, maybe don't know how to code, but they can do vibe coding. And then you marry it up with the back-end people that know how to develop on a blockchain and how to build smart contracts safely, right? And that I think is the right combination, and that's how you get magic to happen, I think.
That's awesome. No, Marc, it's been great talking to you. Is there anything we didn't cover that you think you want our audience to know about what you all have got going on?
I got to say one thing, we're launching a very cool new campaign in September called Algorand.
Nice.
And it's for anybody who wants to explore.
Awesome.
And so it's a campaign that will last for 13 weeks. We will have weekly prizes. We'll have quests for you to do on chain. You can actually discover all of the great projects that run on Algorand. You can win weekly prizes. We'll have prizes to the Formula One in Vegas, for instance.
Fantastic.
Vegas. And we'll have prizes at the end as well. So it'll be very exciting. We're very excited about launching this because we want more people to explore the ecosystem that we've built and specifically the DeFi experience that we talked about. So,
fantastic. And where can people go to learn more about Algrand or follow your work or anything like that?
So they can find us on X, of course. Follow Algrand Foundation. They can go online and look at us. The website is algorand.co, or they can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We have a Discord. If you're technically in nature, sign up for a Discord server, and we can help you develop stuff on Algorand. And so, many, many channels.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Marc. I really appreciate it. Love to have you back on too and check back in on how things are going.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Brave Technologist podcast. To never miss an episode, make sure you hit follow in your podcast app. If you haven't already made the switch to the Brave browser, you can download it for free today at brave.com and start using Brave Search, which enables you to search the web privately. Brave also shields you from the ads, trackers, and other creepy stuff following you across the web.